As multiple Twitter feeds, TikToks, and Instagram memes put it, we live in a society. But what does that really mean? Why were societies created in the first place, and why are they so necessary to establish order? How did and how do humans affect the society we live in today? These are a few interesting but very complex questions that really beg for an explanation of the essential pillars of human existence. Today, I'm going to give you a brief summation of the structures that were created by humans to organize the masses into the societies of the world today. To really understand why behavior plays such an important part in the structure of a society, we have to understand the general idea of human behavior. As a species, we are social beings who live our lives in the company of other human beings. Unlike other species, we use socialization to make powerful changes in social behavior and organization over time. This means the patterns of human society are different from place to place and between era and across cultures, making the social world a melting pot of vastly different ideas and behaviors. These differences are very important to understand and compare because specific behaviors can have largely different roles in societies around the world. As much as society is influenced by individuals, society has an effect on an individual specifically. This is a bit of a chicken or the egg situation because it's largely debated whether society or the individual has a larger effect on the other. People are influenced by the norms and beliefs of their cultures and societies. This influence can take a more personal and intimate level or a more general and widespread level that affects large numbers of people. Macrosociology is the study of general features of a social structure, where microsociology studies the face-to-face, small-scale interactions that you can be found in everyday life or are just studied so that you can get a better idea of social interactions between people. First, let's focus on the big picture, meaning the structures human behavior is affected by. The major components of social structure are as follows: culture, social class, social status, roles and groups, and social institutions. Social structure is the underlying explanation of people's behaviors, a person's location in the social structure, their social class, social status, the role he or she may play in that society or their social class, and the culture, groups, and social institutions to which he or she belongs, underlies his or her perceptions, attitudes, and behaviors. People create their fundamental perceptions, morals, and behaviors from their place in the social structure, and they act according to such. All of the subgroups of social structure work together to maintain social order by limiting, guiding, and organizing human behavior. In terms of more specific factors of human behavior, symbols that people use to define their worlds and how these definitions in turn influence human behavior are also examined. For some sociologists, this can include studying stereotyping, personal space, and touching. Stereotypes are assumptions that people make about others based on previous associations with them or people with similar visible characteristics. Stereotypes may also be based off of what was heard about a person, meaning they are determined by other interactions between people. These assumptions can be accurate, but other times they can be completely off and just have no relation to the actual specifics of an individual. Stereotypes affect how people define and treat other people. They influence how other people define themselves and adjust their behaviors accordingly. Stereotypes based on gender, race, ethnicity, ability, and intelligence are particularly common and very problematic in today's society. Actually, the past turn of the century has marked a generally positive change in the effects of stereotypes. There have been body positivity movements, LGBTQ breakthroughs, and more public discussions about racial inequality. The modern Western societies are taking steps to change how stereotypes generalized and shamed people in the past. According to some sociologists, people surround themselves with a bubble that they maintain by controlling space, touching, and eye contact. In the article written by anthropologist Edward Hall, it studied how the humans have different perceptions of personal space and how much physical distance they use to keep physically apart from people in specific situations. Frequency of touching also changes across different cultures around the world. Furthermore, the meaning of touching differs not only across cultures but also within cultures. People also protect their personal bubble by controlling eye contact. This includes the length of contact and whether it is indirect or direct. A huge component of society is class distinction. Fair or unfair, social distinctions are a major part of almost every culture. The form of the distinctions varies with place and time, sometimes including rigid castes, sometimes tribal or clan hierarchies, like seen in Africa and some of the smaller countries. Sometimes a more flexible social class, which can be seen really in the major Western societies like Germany, England, and the US. These economic, political, and cultural distinctions are recognized by almost all members of a society and resented by a lot of them. I think that social class is the biggest influence of each and every society. The class in which you reside largely determines your window of influence you are statistically able to have in the world. An argument that frequently arises is that of social mobility. It is possible, but not likely in most Western societies, for someone to rise from a lower class into a higher class. Although societies that are seen as progressively modernized may purport that the goal is to give everyone equal opportunities, many loopholes and the very structure of government may limit just how far the average person can climb. Cough, cough, America. Not to say that class distinction is all bad, it's just something that has been implemented for a very long time and can use some housekeeping. Unfortunately, housekeeping being done to advance societies would most likely be called for by primarily left-leaning groups and looks to be already messy, no matter which way you slice it. It is important to remember that without class systems, there may not be as much motivation to succeed, therefore also creating a bit of a problem. Now, I thought this would be worth mentioning, but it is more of a philosophical dilemma. In conclusion, human behavior and society really operate hand in hand. It is hard to say which affects the other more because there are so many complex factors that make up each answer that are heavily reliant upon a person's view of ethics, morality, religion, politics, and other philosophical topics, which can only be generalized to a certain extent. Bottom line is, human behavior is essential to understanding how societies around the world function, but society is necessary to understand how individuals are influenced by their surroundings.